All right, do this quick and dirty. We're going to do a takedown on a 1906. This will also work on the 1890 model Winchester. So it's the 1890 and the 1906 takedown models. If you have a first generation 1890 with a solid frame, you're going to have to look elsewhere. I don't have one to give you demonstration of. But this will work for the 1890 and the 1906. The 61, 62, 62A are a little bit different under here, but similar enough that you could probably make this work as well. So first off, unscrew. Other thing you're going to need, screwdriver kit. The gun screwdriver kit is great for taking the big screws out. The iFixit kit actually is really good at taking, you'll see, taking some of the really tiny screws apart. So this one's really, really handy to have. Take your main screw out, pull your upper and lower apart. We're going to start with the upper. First thing you want to do here, we have to disassemble the whole front section, take that screw out, take the handguard out before the bolt can come out. Yes, you can take this screw and plate off and kind of pry up on this to get the bolt to release. It's not the best way to do it. It's not the proper way to do it. So let's go taking this apart. Make sure you have a screwdriver kit for guns and find the bits that fit correctly. Do not strip your bits out. Do not strip the screw heads because everybody does that. You don't need to. All right, this screw will come out. And if they're tight, make sure your screwdriver bit is properly fitted like that. Yeah, good enough. Screw comes out all the way. Your plate is dovetailed, so you can't pull it straight out. You got to slide it out like that. Like I said, if you go this far and you need the bolt to come out, you can take something and lift up on this arm and make sure that, remember, the bolt is locked unless the hammer is down or the firing pin is in. So that's one way to do it. We're going to go complete though. Next thing, let me grab the block and a punch, and we're going to take this out. All right, if you have a bench block, go ahead and use it. I can't figure out where mine went. It's around here somewhere, but small punch. Let me angle this up so you can see it. There's a roll pin in here. It's not a roll pin, excuse me, it's a solid pin. Small punch, we're going to take that pin out. And it usually is pretty easy. You don't have to hit very hard. So you can even do it like this, like I'm doing by hand. All right, pin falls out the bottom. Take your roll pin out, or take your punch out. Your entire magazine assembly will now slide out. Might be a little stiff, but your magazine assembly will slide out. Be careful. If you have a 1906 or an 1890, your magazine spring will come out as well. For anybody curious, this is how it sits. Take your mag tube out. It sits just like that, with the curve facing inwards. And then when you slide it in, it takes a little finagling, it'll fit into a track on the front hanger. Okay, now that we have the magazine tube out, we're gonna move backwards, take this, take our pump out, and this will lift basically, let's see, there we go, now hopefully you're in frame. This will lift basically straight out and up. This 1906 is getting a reblue, so we're gonna go all the way down. Find a screwdriver bit that fits. Always find the screwdriver bit that fits. Never go and buy Home Depot brand screwdrivers and use them. Find the one that fits correctly, and the screws here will come right out. And these probably, this particular rifle's from 1929, and it doesn't look like it's ever come apart in its life. So this is, this is where your hand goes. There's probably a lot of gunk down in there. Here's one. A lot of pressure. Remember, do not strip these screws. You see so many on the market that, there we go. Oh God, yeah, nasty, nasty, nasty things. You see so many of these old guns on the market of all makes and models that have the heads all messed up. So do your part to not screw up the screws. It'll come out. We'll get it out. Well, actually, let's take a punch. Here we go. Escutcheons stay in. Your wood is ready to be cleaned if it needs that. Screws get set to the side, they'll get oil blued. This is the pump assembly, if you even call it that. This is the connecting from the pump to the receiver. This will need to get re-blued because this is what you see on the outside. Moving back. I'll start with this one here, this hanger here. Make sure you're in frame, hold on. Start with this hanger here. These hangers, if you do nothing else when watching this, remember these hangers are not drifted in square. They're egg-shaped, oblong, oval-shaped. They're oval-shaped dovetails. So what you have to do is come in with a tool and twist them sideways and they'll come out. Don't go taking a punch and hitting them sideways. You will bugger these things up so bad. And it seems like half the guns out there have loose hangers because old gunsmiths didn't know that. Let me find the right tool. I think I made one. Okay. All right, not the right tool, but the largest of my roll pin punches actually fits in here almost perfect. You're gonna take it, remember, and you're gonna twist, and it will turn itself loose like that and come out. Oh, and you can see how, oh God, you can see how nasty that thing is, which is fine. We're gonna re-blue this whole barrel, and we're actually gonna take it off the action as well. Take the barrel off the receiver. That's what you need to do. Notice the shape. Oval shaped. You have to turn them. Do not try to go in and knock them sideways. You will bust this whole thing to pieces. Let me get the front one done too. Moving on back. To get your bolt out now that it's free, this is a third type of bolt which has the wings on the side. If you have a second or a first, you won't have these wings. So you can either push up from the bottom, or if you need to, you can take something small up under here and just give it a little leverage and lift. Don't do too much. You don't want to make a burr on those edges. But basically all you do, push in on the hammer. Remember, there's a lock in here. Push in on the hammer, lift up your bolt. Your bolt will come right out the back. Beyond that, this is pretty simple. Sights, always drift them from left to right to get out, and from right to left to put back in. So I'm gonna put these off camera. You guys don't need to see me drift sights. It's not that hard. Put it in a vise, always have a vise. Take a brass punch, knock them from left to right as you're looking down the sight to get them out because they are ever so slightly triangular. That's why you do that. Left to right out. The rear sight, I will show you the rear sight because it's a very interesting thing that they came up with that I did not realize. It's a clever idea. If you have one of these that's non-driftable, you might be looking at it going, what on God's green earth? The dovetail screw, it fits snugly into the dovetail, and then you loosen it, basically turn it backwards, and it threads into the rear sight. So tightening it should loosen it, if that makes any sense at all. Yeah, see, so you tighten it down, quote unquote tighten it. Your rear sight will come off, and then your screw will come out of the dovetail. That's how that one's done. Very interesting to get them to fit flush instead of cutting a massive dovetail here. That's kind of a cool idea. It's threaded. All right, so there, we're done there. Let's go for the back section. All right, back here. Take your main screw out first, your stock screw, tang screw I guess you'd call it. This one's not too tight. There you go, your long main stock tang screw comes out. Give it a little push. This one's a little snug. There we go, I was holding it. A little push, and your stock comes right off. This one is gonna need a little bit of work. I don't know if you guys can see down in there. We'll do it during the build phase, but the stock is broken. So we're just gonna run a little bit of Gorilla Glue down there. Put that aside. Next up, we are going to take our mainspring out. I'll show you guys over here a little trick that I found that works perfectly for this. Okay, find the screw that fits find the screwdriver bit that fits correctly. If you have something short, thin like this that's sturdy, I have found, take your, let's see, like that, put a little bit of pressure, not enough to bend the tang, just a little bit to take the pressure off the spring, and pull this thing out, pull the screw out. See, notice I'm not putting a lot of pressure, I'm just doing enough to take the pressure off the spring itself. Screw comes out, let go, turn it sideways, and your spring will come out. Let me move you back. Okay. On these old guns, the spring is a big hooked leaf spring. So you just gotta pop it out from under that swivel there. The newer 61, 62s used a coil spring. We'll take one of those apart. I actually have a 62 that needs to be reblued as well, so we'll take that apart later. Down here is your tensioning screw. This screw actually comes up through and puts upward tension on that spring. As the spring ages, you will want to tension it a little bit more, and so it saves you from replacing it. This bit is a little bit too wide, but the screw is not tight, so we're going to make it work. And it is full of gunk. Nasty, nasty, nasty. All right, screw comes out. Next up, you have the trigger screw that's down in here. This one was fun. I actually had to make a tool for this. So what you have to do first is take the tang screw out, which here's where the iFixit comes in handy. Let me go find the proper screwdriver. All right, a couple of things here on this screw. The iFixit screwdrivers come in really handy because you can find one that's an appropriate size for taking these smaller screws out. I don't have a complete gunsmithing screwdriver set. I'm working on getting one. I'll probably end up getting the Brownell's Magnetip set, but until then, you see this iFixit kit works great on these smaller screws. So first thing you have to do is take the tang screw out. Now, this is the tough part. You need a screwdriver that will fit through that tang screw slot. I don't have one that worked. You could grind in a punch or something like that. What I ended up doing was taking some, I think it is 01 tool steel rod that I had, took it on the lathe, and I got it down to the proper diameter. I ground it in, and then I heat treated the thing. Oh, and I bent the head over. But this will fit through there without buggering up the threads up here. Down, let me see if you guys can see that. Oh, down into, I'll bring it up. There you go. You see it'll fit in. Down into the screw head down in there. There you go. And then that will allow me to turn it out. This was a bit of an odd one. I had to make this on when I was working on the 1890 that I have, but just a simple tool like this works perfectly. Okay. So this 1906 has the newer style spring. The arms obviously go forward onto the trigger. The 1890 will have a flat spring if it's the original. You can also replace an 1890 broken trigger spring with this one if you want. It's not a big deal. That goes aside. Okay, next up, the fun part. You need something small enough to knock, well, I hope you guys can see it. Let me bring it up. So, you see there's a little pin right at the tip of my finger, right there. That is what holds this takedown screw from coming out. You need something small to knock that pin far enough out where a piece of some pliers can grab it and pull it out. Let me do that. All right. I had to put it in the vise. You can see how tiny this little pin is. So I ended up, oh, be careful not to lose it. Some of these things are good to have like a little Ziploc, little drug bag. Put them in a little tiny Ziploc and put them aside, because that, if you sneeze too hard, will be off your bench and gone. With that, your screw comes out. Now, easy part. Again, if you're trying to change the caliber, this will come apart. Let me see if, oh, it's in there pretty good and tight. This bushing has to come out sideways, and it comes from the left to the right. So get something in there that can push on the bushing like that, and you'll notice it's stepped. Comes out from left to right. Your carrier will come out, your hammer will come out, then all we have to do now is punch that little pin out and the trigger will come out. Where did I? Okay, pin comes out, put it aside, and if it's not too dirty, your trigger comes out. That is everything. The only other thing that I'm going to do, because we're working on this, which we don't have to, we might actually just glue it as one instead of taking it off the face. You could put this in a barrel vise and get an action wrench and turn this off. It's not too difficult. And then the other thing is I need to take the, well, you know what, since I have the vise here, let me punch this out real quick. Okay. Put it in your vise, padded, and remember, left to right for going out. This one's very snug. Let me actually move this a little bit. I upset the metal a little bit. We'll have to tap that metal back in with a steel ball peen hammer. That's not hard. We'll fix that. Okay, everything's in pieces. Okay, last two things if you need to go this deep. Your carrier, if it's a 1906, will have a pin right here. Knock that pin out and this carrier lever in here, which this is actually what allows it to shoot short, long, and long rifle. This will come out and that pin will come out. We're not going to do that on this one. If you know who you are, if you need to change your spring and your paw here, your lifter part, all you need to do is take this screw out, your spring will come off, punch that pin out, and your paw here, your lifter will come out the front. If you are changing this to the proper caliber and you know who you are, go ahead and put that back in here, run your pin through, put your spring on top. You know what I've actually found is if you just lay the spring on here, even if it's facing off this direction without tension, screw your screw in semi-tight and then run that spring around sideways, kind of lift it up and get it over that paw. That's how you do that. That's how you can change these components between carriers if you need to. Other last thing, and another good spot that iFixit comes in handy. On the 1890 and the 1906, these, the lock here, hammer, the firing pin is held in place with two screws and the ejector is held in with a pin. On the in the 61, 62, these are all punch pins, I believe. I have one that we're going to work on. Whenever we get there, we'll talk about it. Find yourself the right screwdriver that fits properly, which I think is this one. Take these screws out. That was my phone. Don't worry about your phone. Well, you guys might not even be able to hear that. Get in here. These are dirty, dirty, dirty. Get in here and make sure you don't strip the top of that screw out. Look at that gunk that comes out. Ugh, this thing's never been taken apart. Which is fine. This is how I like these. I would much rather get my hands on something that has never come apart, where I can do it properly, versus something that Bubba has decided he needed to take apart 35 years ago in his Bubba everything. All right, take a little bit of pressure off that spring. Here's your two screws. The hammer holder, I keep saying the wrong things. This bar here will come out sideways, just like that. And if you're going to put it back in, it's pretty simple. You match up the curve back here with the curve of the carrier, I guess this is. No, this is the bolt, not the carrier. So if you're trying to put it back together, you match this curve here with the curve back there and throw it back in. It's easy. Your firing pin will come out the back, like that. This thing just needs a good cleaning. It doesn't look bad. Somebody has Okay, no, and they've not actually messed with it. It's just been, somebody's dry fired this quite a bit, and you can see that it's hit the chamber or, you know, honestly, they might not have hit the chamber. This could just be from use. It's polished up the front of that firing pin, so that could just be use. Only other thing, to get the extractor here out, you need to run this pin from, I did mine last time from bottom to top. All you gotta do is find a punch that fits. This does not fit, by the way. I'm just gonna start it. And then we'll go find a punch that fits, run this. You can see I started it now. Run it out, and that'll come right out. And with a little bit of coercion, pin comes out, and the extractor comes out. That leaves us with exactly what we need. I think somebody has attempted this in the past, possibly, because there's some roughness there, but that is not a big deal. That leaves us with what we need. Blued, 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 blued. Everything else will either just get cleaned and oiled, or like the screws, we will probably do an oil bluing, where we will heat them up, quench them, and just get them good and dark. But there's our project. All right, gents, I hope that was helpful. Sorry, I hope that wasn't too long-winded for you. So you can break everything. Next up, obviously, we're taking this and we're gonna rust blue on this and make it look pretty again. And we're not gonna do any work to it. The 1890 that you probably, hopefully just watched, if you didn't, we'll just watch that. Go back and check it. Obviously, we had to polish all the flats and do a whole bunch of work. We're not doing anything to this. We're going to clean and degrease this, convert the red to black, and then we're just gonna bring it back up and leave it the way it is. So, see you guys on the next one.